How's it going, everyone? James Lynch here doing a preview of this Saturday's UFC Vegas 20 card. Thanks so much for watching. This is not a live show, and yes, I'm doing this on a Sunday. A couple of reasons for that. Tomorrow is a holiday here in Vancouver, British Columbia, so I'm going to be taking the day off and just wanted to get this done ahead of time. Figured I'd do it on Sunday. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way, to everyone out there. I am recording this on Valentine's Day. Also, if you guys are looking for my UFC 258 recap, I'll be doing one on the Line Movement channel on Tuesday. I tried to do one last night. If you guys tuned in for that, you guys got an extra treat. I had a little bit too much to drink. I went back and watched the stream and I was like, there's no way I can keep this up. So ended up getting rid of that stream, but I will be recapping that on Tuesday on the Line Movement channel, the entire UFC 258 card. But you can go watch the watch along I did with John Cohen, Ryan Galloway on Saturday night during the fights. That was awesome. I put some timestamps in there if you guys want to see our reactions to each of the fights on the pay-per-view at UFC 258. As always, if you guys can hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It's an easy way to support the channel and help this channel grow. All right, let's get into it. UFC Vegas 20, UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Lewis. I'm going to get off the screen right now. We're going to take a look at this card here. It goes down at the Apex this Saturday in Las Vegas. I will have timestamps for these after the fact if you guys are looking for that. Let's start first. Where are we going to start, actually? Let's go to the bottom of the card here. We're going to start first in the lightweight division. A bit of a switch up here. It's supposed to be Drakkar Klose taking on Jai Herbert. It is now Drakkar Klose taking on Luis Pena. Really interesting matchup there. And we don't have odds on a lot of the books, but we do see one book here on Bet Online having Drakkar Klose as a slight favorite here at minus 200, 2-1 favorite, I should say. Luis Pena, the comeback, plus 170. That's kind of where I see this fight as well. I think on paper, Drakkar Klose is the better fighter. He's got really good wrestling. A couple interesting things about Drakkar Klose ahead of this matchup. He is no longer training at Fight Ready anymore, so that is a bit of a concern. I think him and Eddie Cha had a falling out. I believe that's who he's referencing. If you watch my interview with Drakkar on this channel, you can kind of get some insight into why Drakkar had left there. So he's actually been training a lot with Michael Johnson, who just fought recently. So he's doing a bit of cross-training at a couple different gyms. He's training with Sean O'Malley as well. So Drakkar Klose not at Fight Ready anymore. Let's look at the height and reach. 32 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Luis Pena, much bigger, as he is with most of his opponents. He is 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. So it'll be interesting to see if Luis Pena or if Drakkar Klose can deal with that height and reach of Violent Bob Ross. Of course, Pena last competed against Kama Worthy, getting choked out in the third round back in June of last year. So a bit of a layoff coming into this fight here for Luis Pena, but same thing with Drakkar Klose as well. Pena has alternated between wins and losses in his last 3 fights. Consistency has been an issue here for Luis Pena, and he is stepping up on short notice for this fight. He's no longer at AKA. Luis Pena now trains at American Top Team, so it'll be interesting to see some of the adjustments he's made since going to that camp. I believe this is his first fight since going to American Top Team, or maybe it was the Worthy fight. I can't remember off the top of my head. Did not have a chance to interview Luis Pena due to the short notice, but also, he just got told about this fight last week, so it was a little bit difficult to get an interview with him. But back to Drakkar Klose. He's coming off the first stoppage loss of his career. He was knocked out by Beneil Dariush in a fight that, if you watch back, Drakkar actually looked pretty good in that one in the early going. I thought he himself was going to knock out Beneil, but Beneil ended up catching him and getting it. And that's not a bad loss to have. We've seen the run that Beneil Dariush has gone on lately. Pretty solid win. Before that, he got 3 straight victories over Bobby Green, Lando Venata, and Chris Osiago. So Drakkar Klose still a very solid fighter in this division, as far as I'm concerned. Not the most exciting fighter, but a guy that is definitely going to win fights. I mean, he does more often than not get it done here. So I'm going to go Drakkar Klose by decision in this fight. I think he will be able to take out Luis Pena, get the takedowns, use his wrestling, and really just force the issue here with Luis Pena. Again, he's had a full camp for this fight. I know Pena is always training, but he just took this on short notice. So I think that does favor Drakkar Klose. But honestly, I would stay away from this fight. 2-1 odds, yeah, that might be worth it. I would be looking at the Drakkar Klose by decision prop, if anything, to maybe get some closer to even money or plus money for Drakkar Klose. So yeah, the pick's going to be Drakkar Klose in this one. All right, let's move along to the bantamweight division. We've got Aiemann Zahabi taking on Drako Rodriguez. Is it Draco or Drako? I always forget. I think it's Draco Rodriguez. Really solid matchup in the bantamweight division. Let's take a closer look at both of the combatants. Zahabi has not fought since UFC Ottawa, which I believe is in 2018. It's been a long time. These two were supposed to fight, I want to say a month ago or a little while ago. When were they supposed to fight? It was back in December. That's right. And was it COVID related? Yes, it was Zahabi testing positive for COVID. So rebook this fight, but Zahabi desperately needs a win here. Back-to-back losses, and like I said, hasn't competed since May of 2019. Sorry, not 2018, it was 2019 that Zahabi last fought, so he needs to get back in the win column. My issue with Zahabi has always been that just the level of competition just hasn't been there. If you look at when he got signed to the UFC, I'm sure a lot of that had to do with his last name, with being the brother of Firas Zahabi, the great coach. So a lot of just not great records here: 2-0, 3-1, 0-0. we'll see. Maybe that's, helped him. But I mean, a fight like Vince Morales is a fight that Aiemann Zahabi should win here. Let's look at the height and reach here, and the age. Zahabi, 33 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. Draco Rodriguez, 5'8" with a 69.5-inch reach. So physically very similar, but obviously Rodriguez much younger here at 24 years old. What do we got on odds for this fight? We've got Rodriguez at -190. I actually think that's a good price. I just can't trust Zahabi at this point as far as him pulling off a win here. I'm going to go Rodriguez, and I actually think at -190, that's not too bad. I might actually take a stab at that. So I'm going to take Rodriguez either by maybe like a second round finish, or more likely a decision, I think, as well. Rodriguez does typically finish, a lot of his opponents. We saw that in the last fight on Contender Series, but we did see him go the distance the fight before that. So against a guy who's 6-13. So actually, these are kind of two fighters in general who just, have not, fought the greatest competition here. You've seen, 6-6, 6-13. So I think, forget what I said about the level of competition there. But either way, I like Rodriguez, younger guy, more active. Give me Rodriguez by decision in this fight. Let's keep it going to the featherweight division. We've got Julian Erosa taking on Nate Landwehr. And right now, let's see what the odds makers have on this one. Landwehr is the slight underdog at -105. Julian Erosa -115. That's interesting. I would have figured Landwehr would be the favorite here. I did interview both fighters before this upcoming card. Interesting thing with Erosa was that he got COVID, and he told me, and it's actually the title of the interview, if you watch it, it took him like 6 to 8 weeks for his lungs to get back to normal after getting COVID. Both of them have had COVID actually, but Erosa, I know it really impacted him a lot. So that is one thing to keep in mind in this fight. I mean, he's healthy now, but still, I mean, imagine not getting to train for that long. I mean, that's got to have a bit of an impact there. Erosa is coming off his first UFC win. He got the victory over Sean Woodson in a fight. I believe he was the underdog in that one, which was good because his first UFC stint, he went 0-3. Granted, fighting, super tough competition here, Devontae Smith, Grant Dawson, etc. But yeah, so it'll be interesting here. I'm guessing the reason that Erosa is the favorite is because of his ground game, and we've seen Nate Landwehr, get submitted before. So Erosa is 31 years old, 6'1" with a 74.5-inch reach. He is a pretty big guy. I've seen him in person. 6'1" as a lightweight. Or featherweight, I should say. That's a pretty big, size advantage there. Nate Landwehr. He is 5'9" with a 70.5-inch reach, so a little bit bigger for Erosa. Nate Landwehr, 32 years old, so age-wise they're similar. Landwehr coming off that great win over Darren Elkins. Prior to that, had a pretty bad debut against Herbert Burns, getting finished in the first round. But I like the fact that this guy, even before he got in the UFC, was battle tested. Look at the guys he's fought in M1. Just outstanding competition here, and he's beat a lot of them, right? So that's something to keep your eye on as well. I did mention the one submission loss was back in 2015 as well. So yeah, it's a really exciting fight. I think this is going to stay on the feet. And I actually think Nate Landwehr is going to end up getting this one done. I think, in terms of the striking, I like Nate Landwehr a lot more. This guy can throw bombs. Like I said, better competition overall. I'm going to be picking Nate Landwehr in this fight for the upset. I'm actually going to wait to see if this line gets a little bit closer to plus money. But yeah, I think right now, this is like a pick 'em, but I do see Nate Landwehr coming out on top and getting it done. So that's going to be my pick for this fight. Also, just got to remind everyone, as I do every now and then, again, guys, I just do these for fun. I don't go back and watch tape. I don't do a lot of technical analysis, as you guys know. I just do this for fun. I will be giving you guys some of my best bets for this week. I know someone asked me about that. I'll do that. But again, just bet at your own discretion. I'm not an expert. There are people who do a much better job than I do when it comes to breaking down fights, that have more time, that can watch tape, that can study. So just another disclaimer for you guys out there. If you're new and you're wondering why I'm not that technical or why I'm not pointing out certain things, it's because I go off stats and memory. That's how I break down these fights. Plus I interview a lot of these fighters. So that's another tidbit you guys can check out as well. Anyways, let's move along to the next fight here. We've got awesome fight in the heavyweight division, Andrei Arlovski against Tom Aspinall. And right now the odds makers have Andrei Arlovski as the underdog at plus 210, Tom Aspinall minus 250. Interesting. Okay. I get it. Aspinall's looked outstanding, but Arlovski, he just beat Tanner Boser in his last fight. I know it's controversial, but still, the fact that he went 3 rounds with a guy like Tanner tells me that Andrei still got it. So let's do a little, dig a little deeper here. Obviously, way more experience here for Arlovski, 49 fights compared to just 11. Arlovski, though, 42 years old. He's not getting any younger here. 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. Tom Aspinall, 27 years old, 6'5" with a 78-inch reach. So, I like the matchmaking here because, if Aspinall is the real deal, like we're all hearing, this would be a good test for him to see if he can beat a guy like Arlovski. And we've seen Arlovski pass that test against guys like Boser, and then we've seen him fail that test against, some other fighters like Rosenstruik or, Sakai, for example. So we will definitely see what happens there. Like I said, though, height and reach-wise, these guys are pretty similar. It's Aspinall who actually is going to be a little bit bigger in this fight. Aspinall coming off that great win in his debut over over Badeau, getting that first round TKO finish in that one. Prior to that, got the win over Jake Collier. But I mean, can't take too much away from Jake Collier. He did not look in great shape for that fight. But nonetheless, this guy finishes a lot of fights. You guys can check out my interview with Tom Aspinall here on the channel. I might as well plug that here real quick. I got a ton of interviews for this card. I'll promote it a little bit later, but I did talk to Aspinall a few weeks ago, so you guys can check that out here on the playlist. Arlovski's coming off the win over Bozer. Prior to that, the win over Lin. So 2 really good wins there against guys that he was supposed to lose against. I mean, trust me, the UFC does not want Arlovski to keep winning fights at 43. They don't want him to be a champion. They want, new blood in this division, and that's why he's getting this fight against Tom Aspinall in this matchup. So where am I going in this one? I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall. I'm going to pick him by knockout. I think he will knock out Arlovski in this fight. However, I do see value on Arlovski in this fight, especially if Aspinall can't go out there and get a quick finish. I mean, Aspinall's not a guy known to go the distance, right? And we've seen, I mean, look at this. He's never been, the full 3 rounds before in his career. So that's a huge feather in Arlovski's cap. If he can avoid sort of the early onslaught from Aspinall, I think he has a chance to win this fight. So I'm actually going to put a little bit on Arlovski, and I might even look at the Arlovski by decision prop because I don't know. I mean, Aspinall has been finished, but I'm curious to see what the odds are on the on the decision prop here. We don't have it yet. Again, I'm doing this on Sunday, but I'm guessing the decision prop on Arlovski's got to be crazy. So I might hedge that with Aspinall inside the distance or something. Maybe see if I can make the math work. But yeah, I'm picking Aspinall, but I think the value on this fight for sure is on Andrei Arlovski. A lot more experience, a lot more proven, and like I said, just did this last fight against Bozer. I know, again, I thought Bozer won that, but still, Arlovski still, didn't look terrible in that fight. All right, let's keep it going in the heavyweight division. We've got Sergey Spivak against Jared Vanderaa. This fight was rebooked. If you guys remember, this was supposed to take place, I believe, in the beginning of January. Let me double check. Not the beginning of January, the first UFC card of the year. So he was supposed to fight. Oh, no, it was in December. My bad. And it was Vanderaa testing positive for COVID-19. Did have a chance to speak to Jared Vanderaa before this fight. You guys can check that out. He is one of Dominic Reyes' main training partners. Of course, we saw him on Contender Series get that win over Harry Hunsucker. What a name that is. So he'll be making his official debut against a tough guy in Spivak. Now, Spivak's had some up and downs in his UFC career, losing to Harris, losing to Tybura, rebounded against Carlos Felipe. In terms of the height and reach, Spivak, 26 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Jared Vanderaa, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, 28 years old. So pretty similar age and physicality-wise. But I'm going Sergey Spivak in this fight. Let's look at the odds. He's a 2-1 favorite here. I agree with that. I think Spivak's a lot more well-rounded. And just has that UFC experience already, right? Whereas Vanderaa, he's fought some good guys in the regional scene. He actually fought for the LFA heavyweight title back in 2017. And he fought in EFC as well. But I just like the fact that Spivak's been more of a mainstay in the weight class. Could he get knocked out? Could he get finished? Absolutely. We saw Walt Harris do that. But Vanderaa, I don't think is going to do that in this fight. If we even saw, the last fight he did finish, but I don't think we'll see him finish Spivak in this fight. I think this is Spivak's fight to lose. I'm going to take Sergey Spivak with the pick. And is there value on him as a 2-1 favorite? I think there could be. I feel pretty comfortable that he'll win this fight, but it is heavyweight, so you got to be a little bit careful there when it comes to the matchmaking there. But yeah, the pick's going to be Sergey Spivak. Let's keep it going here in the featherweight division. A pair of fighters I had a chance to speak with, Skelly and Jamall Emmers. You can find that here on the playlist here. Skelly coming back from that shoulder surgery. And Emmers looking to, keep things going after his first UFC win, which is a pretty dominant one. But let's look at the odds here. Odds makers have Jamall Emmers at -235, Skelly +195. Just want to point out right off the bat, guys, so I don't come across as biased on this whatsoever. I do a podcast with Jamall Emmers' coach, Jim West. Emmers basically has done a good chunk of his camp there. Emmers has trained at a bunch of different camps throughout his career, but for this camp in particular, he's trained a lot with Jim West and the team at MMA Gold. We saw Anthony Hernandez get a great win last night at the time of recording this. So that team is looking to continue that momentum, I'm sure. So yeah, and Jamall Emmers, one fun fact about him that I think people forget, he's one of the only fighters to defeat Corey Sandhagen. So when they fought at featherweight a couple years ago in LFA. So another big win there for Emmers. But let's look at the height and reach, the tail of the tape, as they say. So Skelly has not fought since I think the Jordan Griffin fight. Yeah, I was at that one. That was at UFC Vancouver in September of 2019. So big layoff for Skelly coming into this one. 35 years old, 5'11" with a 73.5 inch reach. Jamall Emmers, 31 years old, 5'10" with a 74 inch reach. So you'll see there a little bit of a reach advantage for Jamall Emmers height wise, a little height advantage there for Skelly. Skelly comes from an amazing camp. They have Team Takedown listed here, but that's not where he's training. He trains at Sanford MMA, and they're just, look at, I know Gilbert Burns didn't get the result he wanted last night, but that's still a great camp to train at. He's getting a lot of good training partners there. So that'll be interesting in this one. Jamall Emmers, like I said, coming off that just absolutely dominant win over Vince Cachero. Like that was a total beatdown in that fight. And then the fight before that, he had the split decision loss to Giga Chikadze, which, not a bad loss, right? And especially going to split against him as well. So a lot of things to like here about Jamall Emmers. What are the odds again? Emmers minus 235. I can see it. Yeah, I think Emmers, I feel pretty comfortable that Emmers wins this fight. The concern with Skelly is a couple things: the injuries, the layoff, the age. He's 35, right? I know Emmers is 31, but I think Emmers is kind of in the prime of his career, whereas Skelly, he's taken some damage. He's had some layoffs and he's had some injuries throughout his career. So that is a bit of a concern here. I got to go with the guy who's more active and who's younger. I'm going to go Jamall Emmers in this fight. I'm going to take him by decision. Skelly has been finished before. We saw Jason Knight do it, but I think more likely than not, Emmers goes out there and get a decision like he did in his last fight. He couldn't finish his last opponent. I know we have seen him finish a bunch of fights on the regional scene, but yeah, I like Jamall Emmers in this fight. Minus 235. I do think there is some value there in terms of if you want to parlay that. I feel pretty comfortable he wins this fight. Skelly's a gamer. I'm not going to, not say that he can't win this fight. He absolutely can, but I think in general, I do favor Jamall Emmers in this fight. Okay, let's keep it going here. Bantamweight division, great matchmaking here. Eddie Wineland taking on John Castaneda. Talk to John Castaneda here on the playlist. You can check it out there in the UFC Vegas 20 playlist. What are the odds right now? Castaneda, a slight favorite at minus 115. Eddie Wineland minus 105. I get it, but again, I think Castaneda is should be the favorite here. Younger, another guy who's fought really good competition on the regional scene. 29 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. Eddie Wineland is 36 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. So these guys are similar in terms of the height and reach, and obviously Wineland's a little bit older here. Wineland's fought way more, way better competition though compared to Castaneda. Castaneda's fought good guys, but you look at who Wineland's fought: Sean O'Malley, Gregory, Popov, Perez, Dodson, Mizugaki, Caraway. I mean, these are Barao. He's fought so many, and he's fought for a title. I think people forget that. So Wineland's been in there with some of the best. It's just a matter of can he put it together. The thing that always concerns me with Wineland is he's got the full-time job as a firefighter. He fights like once a year, right? He fought once in 2017, once in 2018, once in 2019. So not as active as I'd like. Again, coming off a pretty brutal loss to Sean O'Malley in his last fight. O'Malley's knocking out a lot of guys, though. Nothing too bad to say there. Castaneda, tough debut against Nathaniel Wood. That is a very tough debut, right? That he had to take in his promotional debut there, and I believe that was on short notice as well. So Castaneda looking to get his first UFC win here. Does have some losses on the regional scene, but those are decisions, right? He's not a guy that gets finished very easily. I know he did, back in 2014, but you get what I'm saying here. Castaneda's looked pretty good for the most part. Speaking of Castaneda, he did do his whole camp back in Minnesota. I was hoping maybe he would have got out there to Arizona to train with his buddy Dan Moret, but Dan Moret's actually going to be in his corner. They're like good buddies. But yeah, he's getting some decent training where he is right now, but maybe not the type of training I would like per se. Yeah, I'm going Castaneda in this fight. I think it's his fight to lose. I think Wineland's great. I think on paper, he probably is the better fighter, but I just can't trust a guy who fights once a year and is a little bit older and has taken a lot of damage. That's the one thing with Castaneda, has not taken much damage in his career. And I think he's going to go out there and look outstanding and get his first UFC win. So give me John Castaneda by decision to get the job done. All right, still on the prelims. This is a very heavy card in terms of how many fights are on here. It's crazy. We've got Shana Dobson taking on Casey O'Neill. Talked to both fighters before this one to give you guys some insight into this fight. And I'm guessing Shana Dobson's the underdog again. We will see. If you guys remember what happened last time with her as the underdog. She is. Casey O'Neill, the favorite, minus 165. Shana Dobson, plus 145. Shana Dobson looks so good in her last fight over Agapova, in a fight where everyone, including myself, I counted her out. I'll be the first one to admit it. Definitely made a mistake there. But I will say this. Agapova looked good in that first round. It was that she sort of gassed out and kind of just didn't know what to do when she was on her back in that second round, and Dobson was able to capitalize on that one. So Dobson, a lot more experience in terms of UFC fights. He was on Tough as well. So that's something you can't sneeze at as well. Shana Dobson, 31 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. Casey O'Neill is 5'6", no reach there. Younger though, 23 years old, trains at Tiger Muay Thai, but for this camp she was actually in Vegas because everything's closed right now due to the pandemic. That's one of the things she talked about in the interview. So she's actually at Syndicate MMA, I believe, is where she's training. So good training camp there. Again, though, not a lot of experience. And how often is it you see a fighter signed to the UFC just outright from after just a couple fights, right? I mean, that's good management. Obviously, they're seeing something in her that, maybe we're not all seeing. She fought in Eternal MMA, which is a great promotion over there in, I believe it's Australia, right? If I'm not mistaken. So that's good. But, I mean, that is a cause for concern here. Not a lot of experience for Casey O'Neill. And how is she going to handle those bright lights? Like, she didn't even fight on Contender Series. It was just a straight call up to the UFC. So that's got to be good. The UFC, like I said, must think pretty highly of her. But like I said, Dobson's someone you don't want to count out. She's at Elevation Fight Team right now, which is just an outstanding camp. There's a lot of women training there right now. Rose Namajunas, Montana De La Rosa, Mallory Martin. There's just Claire Guthrie, who fights in LFA. There's just a lot of good competition there. And you look who Shana's losing to. I mean, Kao Shera, she's been pretty solid. Sabina Mazo looks like the real deal. Lauren Mueller, that's one she would have liked back. Lauren Mueller's not in the UFC anymore, but yeah, it's just a matter of can Shana put it together and get that confidence like she had in the last fight. We will see what sort of happens there. But who am I going to pick in this fight? I'll go with Casey O'Neill in this fight just because of the fact that I think there's more upside for her. She's younger. I think, and again, if you're training at Tiger Muay Thai, you got to be a good striker here. And that's been sort of the issue with Shana Dobson for some of her fights where she just can't, she can't hang with some of the women in that weight class in terms of the striking department. So I'm going to pick O'Neill here, but the value for sure is on Shana Dobson. I mean, I could see another upset here. I see this as a pretty close fight. I think the odds sort of indicate that, like we're seeing, but Dobson's someone that could surprise. And like I said, that UFC experience is very valuable for her. She's been in the cage with some of the best, whereas O'Neill hasn't had that test yet. So the pick's going to be Casey O'Neill. Not betting it. I would, if anything, I think the value should be on Dobson. I'm very tempted to pick Shana Dobson. I am. I don't think I can do it though, just because of the fact that I think this will stay standing, and I think O'Neill is the better striker. So that's what I'm basing it off of. But again, if you're looking for value here, I would go for Shana Dobson in this fight. All right, we're still in the prelims. One more fight. Love this one, though. A pair of Florida fighters going toe-to-toe. We've got Jared Gordon taking on Danny Chavez. Spoke to both fighters before this one. You guys can check out those. I did a ton of interviews for this card, in case you guys haven't noticed. So hopefully that'll be informative. I know people like the fighter interviews before the fights, especially if you're betting. So Gordon, the reason I said he's a Florida guy now is because he's at Sanford MMA. He was another guy that's there. So he's fighting on this card with his teammate Chad Skelly. Gordon, of course, coming off that incredible win over Chris Fishgold in his last fight, in a fight where a lot of people were counting him out. And I thought Gordon looked amazing at featherweight, and he had a ton of obstacles to overcome. His entire corner was gone. He had to get Paul Felder, who was doing commentary, to come and do that. And, and then he spoke about it in our interview. His fiance or wife, she had a miscarriage. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that he had to deal in that fight, and he overcame it. So, Gordon's, I mean, you can never count out Jared Gordon in a fight. And you look at the record here and you see, three losses in his last 5 fights. Look who he's losing to: Diego Ferreira, Joaquim Silva, Charles Oliveira, who might be, someday a UFC champion. I mean, those are not bad losses, right? So Gordon, I think, should not be overlooked in this spot whatsoever. Danny Chavez, same thing. He was an underdog in his last fight. He ended up getting it done against TJ Brown. He actually gave me crap in the interview for picking against him. I apologize. I mean, look, we have to pick winners and winners and losers, right? So it's going to happen every now and then. You're going to get a fight wrong every here and there. But one of the wins I liked that he had on the regional scene was Dylan Calla. Dylan Calla's a guy I've been following for a while. He's a teammate of Brian Barberena. A lot of upside on Dylan Calla, and that was a huge win to finish him in the first round. Very, very, very big win for him there. Again, a lot of experience coming into this one, right? Like, if you look, I mean, he's got more fights than, he's got almost as many fights as Jared Gordon does if you look at his record here. So Danny Chavez, very much battle tested. And the one thing I liked in our interview that he talked about, he's like, look, I'm 33. Like, it's go for broke now. I got to start making a run for this title. I'm not going to be naive and think that I need to, slowly work my way up. He wants the tough fights now. So totally respect that as well. 33 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Jared Gordon, 32, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. Physically very similar. Both train at camps in Florida, like I mentioned. Danny Chavez training at MMA Masters with Colby Covington. He actually didn't train a ton with Colby, but he talked about some of his training partners over there. So Savage is absolutely game. What are the odds on this fight? I keep forgetting to do that off the top here. What are we here? Why can't I find it? I wish they'd put it in the order that I'm doing these fights on. Here we go. Danny Chavez, a slight favorite at -125. Jared Gordon, +105. Interesting. I'll tell you what, guys, I think this is the hardest fight to pick on the card. One of the hardest fights. I see both of these guys as very talented, very battle-tested. Gordon's got good stand-up. He's got good wrestling. Same with Chavez. I mean, Chavez is, he's a finisher. We saw that, like I said, in the Dylan Calla fight as well. So I'm going to go, which way am I going to go in this one? I think I'll pick Danny Chavez, but if this line gets a little bit higher, I think there's definitely some value on Jared Gordon. Gordon is a guy that you just cannot count out. He's got plenty of notice for this fight too. I'm so torn. I am torn. I'll pick Chavez, but I mean, Gordon can absolutely win this fight. And I might even throw a little sprinkle there on Gordon as the underdog here. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know, but that's how I feel. I feel like this is a very close fight. And I love that Gordon is at Sanford. I think that's a great fit for him there. So the pick's going to be Chavez, but like the last fight, I think the value here is on Jared Gordon. Okay, let's keep it going to the main card. Fight that I kind of forgot was even on this card. Rafael Alves taking on Pat Sabatini. Sabatini's a guy I've been hearing about for a while. Never actually interviewed him. Always wanted to, but he's a guy I knew would make the UFC someday. Very talented guy, but he's taking on a guy in Rafael Alves, who's also very talented here. So Sabatini going to be making his UFC debut. But let's look at the odds here. What do we got here? Pat Sabatini. Looks like Alves is the favorite on one of these books here, minus 190. I should probably zoom in here, guys. I'm sorry about that. I haven't even been doing that. So, yeah, now the odds are way clearer here. So, yeah, we've got minus 190 for Rafael Alves, and Pat Sabatini is plus 165. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Another MMA Masters guy. So there you go. Alves, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. He also will be making his UFC debut. I forgot about that. So he's the guy who won on Contender Series against Flores, right? He got the submission win. Before that, fought for Titan FC. A lot of finishes here. I'm liking a lot of stuff here. Fought a number of veterans throughout his career. If you're looking down the list, this guy's been fighting since 2007. So 30 years old, but a lot of experience heading into this fight. So like I mentioned, 5'8", 68-inch reach. Pat Sabatini, 5'9", doesn't have the reach listed, but I bet they're pretty similar height and reach-wise. Pat Sabatini, same age, so pretty even fight in terms of the physicality here. Sabatini fought for a great promotion in CFFC. You see a couple of losses here. There was an arm injury in that one, so you can't really put too much stock into that. But yeah, he's fought for CFFC, which is just an outstanding promotion. Yeah, just an arm injury loss and a split decision loss, and then lost to Robert Watley, who's actually a pretty good fighter. Was fighting last for PFL, so it's going to be a pretty interesting fight. I don't have a great read on this fight, I'll be honest. I haven't seen a ton of tape on either guys, but I just based off what I've seen with Alves, I like him a little bit more in this one, so I'm going to take him in this fight, probably by decision, just because Sabatini's very tough to finish. His only stoppage loss is that injury, but yeah, I'm going to take Rafael Alves in this fight. All right, we're finally on the main card. It's taken a bit, but we are here. We've got Nassourdine Imavov taking on Phil Hawes. Talked to Phil Hawes before this fight. Really good interview with him if you guys want to check that out here on the playlist. As I'm trying to zoom in here a little bit more, let's take a look at the odds for this fight. Phil Hawes, the slight favorite at minus 115, Imavov minus 105. So Hawes, you guys know the story with Hawes, right? Had a lot of hype. Was at a bunch of different camps. Almost gave up on his career, actually. I didn't realize that when I was talking to him in the interview. But yeah, he mentioned that, you know, he was basically ready to walk away when things didn't work out after going on tough, after losing to Julian Marquez on Contender Series. But he kept with it, and he's looked outstanding. That debut, I mean, very, very, very outstanding win here. So let's talk about Phil Hawes first. So Phil Hawes, 9-2, another Sanford MMA guy who's training, or who's on this card, I should say. 32 years old, 6 feet tall with a 77.5-inch reach. Imavov is 24 years old, 6'3" with a 75.6-inch reach. So a little bit of a height advantage there for Imavov, but the reach advantage goes to Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes, of course, only needed 18 seconds to get that win over Jacob Malkoun, which, I mean, I don't know why Jacob Malkoun got signed. He only had 4 fights, kind of a bit surprising there, but still has some good wins outside of that. And even his losses, I mean, losing to Julian Marquez, not a bad loss. Lewis Taylor won the PFL tournament, no shame there. Lost to Andrew Sanchez on tough, who ended up either won the show or he was a finalist. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, no shame in losing to him as well. So Hawes is good, man, and I think he's coming into his prime at the right time here at 32 years old. But Imavov, he's also very good. Trained by Fernand Lopez, which is the same coach as Cyril Gain. Coming off that really good win over Jordan Williams in his last fight. Prior to that, had a win over a UFC vet in Jonathan Meunier. So this guy, we know he's got some good wins here in terms of what he brings to the table. But looking at the odds here, I'm going to agree with the odds, and I'm going to go with Phil Hawes in this fight. I think his stand-up is just outstanding, and I think that you know, if he connects on Imavov, he can put his lights out like we've seen in the last couple of fights. So I'm going to take Phil Hawes by knockout. Which round? Maybe we'll go second round. Maybe get his timing out a little bit, and then going and get the finish. But I like Phil Hawes in this fight. I'm going to pick him here to get the win as the favorite. Okay, let's keep it going here on this card. We've got an interesting fight in the featherweight division. Derek Minner taking on Charles Rosa. And right now the odds makers have, where are we here? Charles Rosa is a slight favorite at minus 170. Derek Minner plus 150. So Rosa, if you guys remember, bounced back from that win, that pretty dominant loss to Bryce Mitchell by getting the win over Kevin Aguilar in his last fight. So Boston Strong, living up to his nickname, still sticking around here. 34 years old, 5'9" with a 69-inch reach. Trains at a great camp at American Top Team. Derek Minner is 30 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach, and comes to us from Glory MMA. It's his disorderly conduct, but I know that he's training at Glory right now. So Rosa, like I mentioned, got the split over Kevin Aguilar in his last fight, lost to Bryce Mitchell before that, and got a great win over Manny Bermudez before that in a fight where he was an underdog. Then he had that huge gap because of the injury he had after the Shane Burgos fight. So Rosa hasn't fought a ton since he was injured, but has fought twice last year, which is good, getting him back on track. Minner came off a huge upset win over TJ Laramie's last fight. Laramie had never been submitted. He submitted him in 52 seconds. Prior to that, lost to Grant Dawson, who I think's potentially a future contender there. But I like the amount of fights here for Minner. This guy, you look at it, 36 career fights. I mean, that's a lot of experience that he brings to the table here. This is another one that I think could go either way. I'm going to give a slight edge to Charles Rosa just because of the UFC experience. I think he's shown a bit in certain fights. Even you go back to that Yair Rodriguez fight, which was a split decision. I mean, the fact that he went the distance with a guy like that, we've seen how talented Yair is. I think that's good on his resume, so to speak. And Rosa's only losing to really top-notch competition. So I'm going to go Charles Rosa by decision in this fight. What are the odds again? Let me have a quick look. Rosa is -170. Yeah, you could probably play that. But Minner, again, I don't know. There's something about that camp at Glory MMA. I mean, we saw Marquez get the upset last night in terms of him losing that fight, and then he was able to pull it off. Kevin Kroom got the upset win as well. So we'll see. I mean, this is the camp of upsets. So, I could see Minner pulling it off, but I'm going to take Charles Rosa. Just on paper, I have to take him here. Okay, let's keep it going. Heavyweight division. Another good matchmaking here, similar to the Arlovski and Aspinall fight. We've got Alexei Oleinik taking on Chris Daukaus. Spoke to both fighters before this one. Actually, I spoke to Minner and Rosa as well before this fight, too. So, like I mentioned, a lot of interviews here on the playlist here. Where are the odds going in this one? It's kind of a test to see who the good prospect is. Chris Daukaus, the favorite at -185. Oleinik +160. I get it, and I agree with the odds here because Daukaus is younger, he's faster, he looks like the real deal. Of course, Daukaus is the brother of Kyle Daukaus, who fights in the middleweight division. But yeah, Daukaus has looked outstanding, but it's hard to take it away from who he's fought, right? He fought Parker Porter, which, decent heavyweight, beat Nascimento in the last fight, but that was a fight, again, where I don't think that the competition's, I mean, this is a big step up for him against a guy in Oleinik, who, yes, Oleinik is, how old is he? He's 43. He's taken a lot of damage. There's a lot of reasons not to like him in this fight. He got finished by Derrick Lewis in his last fight. Who doesn't get finished by Derrick Lewis? Beat Verdum in the fight before that, where he looked outstanding. He actually beat Verdum in his own game. Submitted Mo Green before that. This guy's got an outstanding, he's probably got the best jiu-jitsu, best ground game in the division. Has Daukaus ever been submitted? He has, back in 2015. So that's pretty much the way I see this going, is either it's going to be, I mean, this is how I see this fight going. I'll keep it simple for you guys. I'm not going to go too much into detail. But I think it's, if Daukaus can catch Oleinik, then obviously, that's the way he's going to win. I think if Daukaus wins this fight, it'll be my knockout. He'll use his speed and get it done. If Daukaus can't get the finish early, I could see Oleinik taking over, getting it to the ground, and getting that submission win. So if you guys are going to bet this fight, I think the smart move, well, I'm pretty sure Daukaus would win, but either way, I would hedge Oleinik by submission prop with Daukaus by knockout prop, because I don't see this going the distance. I think there will be a finish in this fight, or you could just take this fight doesn't go the distance prop if you want to do that instead. I don't know what the value is on that, if there is any. I don't even think there is one. Maybe the over even, you could take that. I don't know. But yeah, I think, or the under, I should say. But yeah, I'm going to take Chris Daukaus in this fight. I believe the hype. I think this guy's the real deal, and I think he's just going to be too fast for Oleinik in this fight. But we'll see. Oleinik, like I said, can't sleep on that ground game. All right, co-main event, Ketlen Vieira, Yana Kunitsakaya. Yeah, interesting fight here in the women's bantamweight division. Could this potentially mean, title fight for Vieira if she wins this? Potentially. We'll see. Who knows what's going on in that division. Let's see what we got here in terms of the odds. Vieira -265, Yana Kunitsakaya +225. That's exactly how I see this fight as well. Ketlen Vieira is super talented, and outside of that one loss she had to Irene Aldana, she's looked outstanding, right? And you even look at the last fight, really solid win over Sajara Eubanks, really strong, tough opponent there. She beat, has a win over Kat Zingano, Sarah McMahon. I mean, just a lot of good wins here. She got knocked out by Aldana, but outside of that, she's looked good. She's 29 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. Kunitsakaya, 31, 5'6" with a 68.5-inch reach. So pretty similar height and reach-wise, even age-wise. Kunitsakaya just a little bit older. Now, Kunitsakaya is training at American Top Team, I think. I think that because her boyfriend, Thiago Santos, trains there. I believe that's where I saw her train. Because I know she was at Extreme Couture, and then before that she was at Jackson. So good camp either way for her getting to work there. Coming off that win over Stolarico in her last fight, which wasn't bad. Lost to Aspen Ladd, but I mean, that was a fight where I think she was on her way to almost winning that fight against Ladd, if my memory serves correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, she and then Ladd came out like a bat out of hell. Jim West with that great corner advice. Aspen Ladd goes out there and knocks her out, which was incredible, and just shows you how good Aspen Ladd is. But yeah, I thought she looked good in that Aspen Ladd fight despite the loss. Has a win over Marion Renault, has a win over Lena Landsberg, lost to Cyborg in her debut. Who isn't going to lose to Cyborg in her UFC debut? I mean, I can't take too much away from that. So I do like the odds here, but I think there's a potential for an upset potentially here with Kunitsakaya. She's someone, I think Kunitsakaya is very good, and I think there could be some value here as being such a big underdog in this fight. Where is it again? Why do they keep mixing it up? Here we go. Plus 225. I think there's definitely some value there in Kunitsakaya to potentially pull this one off. and get it done. Again, really think she's solid in terms of what she's able to bring to the table. But Vieira, I see her as a future title challenger, and comes from a great camp at Nova União. I'm going to take Caitlin Vieira with my pick. I think she wins by decision. Kind of a similar situation. I might just hedge the underdog pick with maybe taking Vieira by decision or something. Like Kunitskaya, pretty tough to finish, right? Other than getting finished late by Ladd and losing to Cyborg, she hasn't been finished a ton, at least recently, is what I'm getting at. So yeah, I'm into the picks Vieira, but again, I think you could do some interesting stuff there with the odds on this one. Okay, main event. Love this fight. Curtis Blaydes, Derrick Lewis. This is a pretty obvious fight to me. I broke this down before when this fight first happened. If you guys remember, this was supposed to take place in December. Blaydes gets COVID, fights off. They rescheduled it. Glad they rescheduled it because it makes a lot of sense. Curtis Blaydes minus 365, Derrick Lewis plus 305. Okay, that's a little off, but it is a bad style matchup for Derrick Lewis because look, Blaydes, I think, is either the best wrestler in this division or one of the best wrestlers in the division. And Lewis is not a very mobile guy for his size, but Lewis has the knockout power, right? So I think, it's an interesting style matchup. Can Lewis, be able to handle a guy like Curtis Blaydes? Like, remember, Lewis had trouble with Oleinik in that first round when he fought him in the last fight, right? So it's possible that he could have, similar problems against Blaydes in this fight, and Blaydes might be able to capitalize. Blaydes 14-2, 29 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. Lewis is 36 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. So Blaydes a little bit taller here. In terms of that, what else do we got? Coming off that win over Volkov in a fight that a lot, like you guys have heard me rant about that fight over and over again. Dana White calling him boring. All these fans calling Curtis Blaydes boring. He's not boring. Volkov's just tough to finish. And look, we saw Volkov get a pretty good win over Blaydes' teammate in his last fight against Alistair Overeem. So Volkov's a good fighter. So this idea that Blaydes is boring, I don't buy it. A lot of finishes here. Look, JDS, Jamall, Overeem beat Oleinik as well, right? Like, he's got a lot of stoppage wins. So Blaydes is not a boring fighter. He's just a good wrestler, and he happens to rely on that wrestling. Who wouldn't, right? You're not gonna try and stand and trade with Derrick Lewis. It doesn't make a lot of sense for him to do that. So yeah, I think Blaydes will do quite well with his wrestling. Lewis coming off that win over Oleinik, again, had some problems. The Latifi fight, that could have gone either way, and same thing with the Blagoy Ivanov fight before that. I actually thought Ivanov won that fight back at UFC 244. I was at that one. So look, Lewis always has the threat of the knockout. I mean, and we've seen Blaydes get knocked out by Francis Ngannou, but I stated this and I'll say it again. I think that Francis Ngannou knocks out like most of the heavyweights in that division, and I think he's got more knockout power, better knockout power than a Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis has good knockout power. He also finished Volkov, late in their fight, like a Hail Mary type punch. So it can happen in this fight, but I just don't see Blaydes. I mean, he's been knocked out twice by Ngannou. I don't think he's going to try and mess around with Derrick Lewis in the stand-up. And I think he's going to play a patient game here. It's a 5-round fight that definitely favors Blaydes. I know he got a little bit tired in the Volkov fight, but he does have that 5-round experience. I could see him avoiding, some early shots from Lewis and just, putting the wrestling on, getting the takedowns, just wearing Lewis out. And I think either later in the fight he's going to get a finish or perhaps a decision in this one. But either way, I really like Curtis Blaydes here. Am I going to lay minus 365 on this? Probably not. Maybe I'll look at the decision prop. Maybe I'll pick a round, maybe like a late round finish or something. Like, I don't think Blaydes is going to go out there and get like a first or second round finish over Derrick Lewis. That's just not going to happen. I see it as very highly unlikely. So might get a little creative there, but yeah, this is Blaydes' fight to lose. Stylistically, I couldn't believe they booked this fight because of the fact that I don't think it favors Lewis very well at all. I mean, it's just a really good mobile wrestler, a very big athlete that Curtis Blaydes is against a guy in Lewis who, don't get me wrong, can knock a lot of people out in that division, but he's not as mobile and not as fast as Curtis Blaydes. So definitely going with Curtis Blaydes in this fight. And to do a quick recap here, everyone, because someone asked me this, what are some bets what are some, like, I don't know, what are some of my best bets here? Why don't we do, I'll talk a couple bets I like on here and maybe like an underdog pick here as well, as far as things that I like. So as far as my underdog, I think he technically is an underdog. I like Nate Landwehr as the underdog here. I would take him. In terms of like fights I feel really confident in, because I know people like to ask me that as well. I think, let me think for a second here, because I'm kind of just reflecting on what I just talked about here. So I think I really feel like Blaydes is going to win. Like, I'm very confident that Blaydes wins. I don't think Lewis is going to knock him out like Ngannou did. So I feel very confident that Blaydes wins. So again, you could parlay that with someone else in the card. I might parlay it with him and say, I don't know, Sergey Spivak, right? I think Spivak likely beats Vanderaa. Maybe you do that parlay, you get some good money there. And I know that's not like amazing money. The other fight I think Rodriguez beats Zahabi. Yeah, just the layoff, the time away, the lack of fights, all that stuff. I think Rodriguez should win that at a minus 190. I think there's some good value there as well. And then what were some other ones I was looking at? I think Might be worth a stab as well, taking the Aspinall or Dawkins by knockout in their respective fights, because they're fighting two guys that have been knocked out before, and it's heavyweight. And you're not going to get crazy value on that as well. And what else? Yeah, that's about it. But this is a tougher card to pick. So like I said, the fights I feel most confident in, I think Blaydes and I think Rodriguez are probably my two most confident picks here. I like Landwehr as a bit of an underdog. And what was the other fight I liked? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that breakdown of the card. Let me just back on screen. So yeah, really appreciate you guys checking out today's show. If you guys have any questions, I know normally I do a Q&A after these preview shows. Just post them in the comments here. I'm going to post it today, so I'll give you guys plenty of time to answer any questions you have. Really appreciate the support. Just one more reminder, everyone, if you're watching this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It's an easy way to support me here on the channel. Also, I have a PayPal link in the description as well. I do the show for free, so if you guys want to help out, throw me a couple bucks. All the money goes back into the channel, just giving you guys better content, whether it's upgrading my editing or upgrading, a bunch of different stuff in terms of, I have a music track for this, for all my videos now, right? I have artwork. That's all stuff that has come from you guys and my own money, obviously, but always trying to give you guys better content, always trying to evolve here as well. Before I go as well, just going to quickly plug the interviews I have here on the channel. Let me get off the screen. Again, what do we got? So if you look here, tons and tons of interviews, everyone. So look at this. We've got Curtis Blaydes, Oleinik, Chris Dawkins, Phil Hawes, Derek Minner, Charles Rosa, Jared Gordon, Danny Chavez, Shana Dobson, Casey O'Neill, John Castaneda, Chaz Skelly, Jamall Emmers, Vanderaa, Jared Vanderaa, Tom Aspinall, Julian Erosa, Nate Landwehr, Drakkar Klose. Now this was when he was supposed to fight Jai Herbert, but still good interview to get some insight into him splitting up with Fight Ready. And then I got a couple pros picks videos. Now these two pros picks videos I have here were for the first Blaydes and Lewis fight, but I mean, not a lot's changed since then. They haven't fought different opponents, so I think the picks are still pretty relevant here, but I did put in the description that these were the picks for the December fight. So just keep that in mind, but I also did a third pros picks video just recently talking to fighters about who they're picking in the fight, so check that out as well. Also had another interview with Curtis Blaydes right after he got COVID, so you can get some insight into Blaydes like right after the whole COVID thing happened, and I was talking about them potentially rebooking the Lewis fight, and they did, so you can watch that as well. But if not, I have a more recent interview with Blaydes here as well. Also, guys, got to plug the merch store. If you guys want to support me, an easy way to do so and look super cool doing it is buying some of my merch. I get a kickback on every single purchase, so it really helps me, and it helps spread the brand that I have here, right, of everything I'm doing here. And I can tell you the stuff's high quality, top notch. I bought a hoodie recently. I've got I got the mug. I got a lot of different stuff here. So yeah, if you guys really want to support me, that's an easy way to do it. And if you guys do buy any merch, by the way, let me know, and I'll give you a shout out on social media. Definitely want to promote the clothing a bit more. I'm talking to my artist this week. Hopefully going to get some more designs on here for you guys to get some new swag on this as well. So let me get back on here one more time. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. This is only for this week. I'm just doing the show on Sunday because like I said, tomorrow's a holiday here in British Columbia, so I'm going to be spending the day with my family. It's actually called Family Day here in Vancouver, so I'll be doing that. No line movement show tomorrow either. I'll be doing that on Tuesday morning and recapping UFC 258. I'll be back Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific time, doing my full MMA Q&A. So if you guys had questions you didn't want to post here, I'll be back on Thursday. We can definitely answer those questions there for you guys. But in the meantime, just post them in the comment section of this video, and I'll answer them as soon as I can. So hope you guys enjoyed this recorded version of my preview show. I'll be back again on Monday, a week this Monday, to preview the UFC 259 card. I think that's the card after that, right? Or do we have a break? Yeah, wow, UFC 259 is right around the corner here. So yeah, like I said, just to give you guys a little timeline here, Thursday I'll be doing the Q&A on this channel, and then a week this Monday I'll be doing the UFC 259 preview as well. So thanks so much for watching. Like I said, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate you checking out the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and thanks so much for tuning in.